When the Forbes Billionaires List revealed my name Tessy during my sister's wedding, the entire room froze. No one expected the family disappointment to be a billionaire. This is the truth behind the moment my whole life flipped. You are welcome to another interesting episode of family revenge drama. Don't forget to subscribe for more mind-blowing stories. Maybe if you were more like your sister, she murmured, adjusting her gelly while staring proudly at my sister across the room. Look at her. A real woman. An attorney. Meanwhile you. She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. She never did. Weddings are supposed to be joyful. But tonight felt like a stage built to remind me of everything I supposedly wasn't. My sister, Anita, stood beside her groom glowing with that confident smile everyone adored. Guests surrounded her, praising her job, her future, her brilliance. And my mother? She followed behind her like a shadow dressed in gold. I waited at my table, quiet, invisible. That was the role I'd mastered after years of being the family's disappointment. The girl who didn't choose law or medicine. The one who wasted potential. The one whose ideas were too unrealistic to be serious. What they didn't know was that silence doesn't mean weakness. And invisibility isn't the same as insignificance. The wedding reception hall buzzed with laughter, clinking glasses, and the DJ calling for attention. My sister's face appeared on the massive screen as the MC began preparing the slideshow of her life and achievements. My mother leaned close to me again, her voice cutting deeper this time. If only you worked harder, Tessy. See where your sister is now. You spend all that time on your computer things. For what? A soft laugh from her, gentle but sharp enough to draw blood. Then the lights dimmed. The screen flickered. Instead of my sister's slideshow, a different video appeared. A breaking news bulletin. Forbes has officially released the new Billionaires List. No one paid attention at first. Not until the MC shouted, "Wait, pause it." The screen froze. My name. My photo. My company logo. Tessy. Net worth $1.4 billion. For a moment no one moved. No one breathed. Even the music stopped. My mother's glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor. The room didn't just fall silent. It bowed. And for the first time in my life, they all finally saw me. The silence after my name flashed across the screen was loud enough to bruise. Faces turned toward me like a slow-moving wave. Confusion first, then shock, then something uglier. Guilt, envy, disbelief. The kind of emotions people feel when the person they dismiss suddenly becomes the person they fear. My sister's groom blinked at the screen. My mother clutched her wrapper like she needed something to hold her to the earth. Anita. She stared at me as if I'd stolen her wedding. But I hadn't stolen a thing. I had simply earned what they never believed I was capable of. The MC stammered through the silence. Ladies and gentlemen, it appears the Forbes list has mistakenly, or maybe correctly, listed the bride's sister as one of the youngest billionaires in Africa. A few forced laughs. Then stillness again. I felt my throat tighten as every memory of humiliation pressed against me at once. Those dinners where my ideas were mocked. The birthdays where my achievements were ignored because Anita passed another exam. The night mom said, "Tessy, some children make you proud. Others just make you worry." The year I built my first startup and no one even asked what it was. I had swallowed all of it. Quietly. Gratefully. Like pain was part of my culture. But tonight the swallowing stopped. I stood slowly. The hall seemed to stretch while people whispered. She's the billionaire? But she's the quiet one. I thought she was struggling. Her mother always said she wasn't serious. My heart pounded not from pride but from something darker. The years of dismissal, condescension, and comparison curled inside me like a fist. And for the first time I let myself feel it fully. Anger. Not wild or loud. Cold. Precise. Perfect. Mom stepped closer, her voice trembling. "Tessy, why didn't you tell us?" I met her eyes, the same eyes that once scanned me for flaws. "You never asked." It hit her harder than any slap. In that moment, the real betrayal wasn't that they didn't know I was successful. It was that they never cared to look. And as the murmurs grew, and my sister's wedding day reshaped itself around my existence, one truth sharpened inside me. Being invisible was painful. But being seen, that was going to be my revenge. The truth hung between us, heavy and unmistakable. Behind him, other family members listened, cousins who laughed behind my back, uncles who boasted about my sister like she personally made the sun rise. Their expressions were a mixture of guilt, envy, curiosity, and something uglier: opportunism. They were recalculating, rewriting their opinions of me in real time. My father lowered his voice. "Your mother is in shock. She needs to speak to you." I almost laughed. Now she wanted to speak to me? "No," I said simply. "She can wait." I walked past him before he could protest. Strike two. The glass doors to the courtyard swung open, letting in the night air. Lights shimmered across the pool, reflecting long streaks of gold. My sister stood at the edge barefoot, bouquet abandoned beside her like a forgotten prop. Her back was turned, but I knew she heard me approach. She didn't move. "She's proud of you," she whispered. "Mom. She just doesn't know how to show it." I let out a soft, humorless breath. "Is that what you tell yourself to sleep at night?" She flinched. "Good." I stepped beside her. The moonlight hit her face. Perfect makeup, perfect features, but the cracks were there. Fear, anger, and something darker: envy. "Tess," she said softly, "why didn't you trust me with this?" I studied her. The sister who always had the spotlight. The daughter who never heard the words. "Why can't you be more like her?" "You were never a safe place," I whispered. "You just played the role better than I did." Her eyes filled, but she didn't deny it. "I'm getting married today," she said, voice shaking. "And you ruined it." I exhaled, slow and steady. "No. The truth ruined it. I just stopped hiding it." Her lip trembled. "They will never look at me the same. And now you know," I said, "how I felt standing next to you my entire life." Strike three. Not revenge. Not yet. Just the beginning. Inside, I could hear the family gathering themselves, preparing the conversations, apologies, excuses they thought they deserved to offer. They had no idea that I had already begun something much quieter, much sharper. I was taking back my story piece by piece. I didn't return to the ballroom immediately. I walked the dim hallway behind the venue, the path the waiters used, because I needed air thick enough to breathe and quiet enough to think. My phone buzzed. A single notification. Then another. Then dozens. "Congratulations, Tessy. Your interview just hit 2 million views. You're trending." I froze. My interview? The one I recorded months ago, where I spoke about resilience, childhood wounds, and the silent weight of living in constant comparison. The one I'd asked the team to release after the Forbes announcement. It had gone live. And with it came a message from my co-founder. "They finally know what you survived." My heartbeat stumbled. Survived? That word felt heavier now, as if the past had been waiting to surface. I clicked the video link, my own face filling the screen. Eyes tired, voice steady as I told the story I never dared tell my family. How comparison ruined my confidence before I was 12. How I built my company from a cramped room no one visited. How my mother once said, "Stop dreaming, you're not your sister." How my sister submitted my university project as her own, and my parents praised her for it. And how the day I left home I cried not because I was alone, but because I finally felt free. I swallowed hard. This was the betrayal beneath the betrayal. The quiet wounds that no one in that ballroom would ever admit happened. The things they brushed aside as jokes, tough love, motivation. But the world was hearing it now. All of it. My footsteps slowed as I re-entered the venue. Conversations dropped. Heads turned. A spotlight didn't hit me, but it felt like it did. My mother stood in the center of the room, pale, phone in hand. She had watched the interview. Her eyes, always sharp, always calculating, were soft now. Almost pleading. "Tessy," she whispered, voice cracking. "Why would you say such things? It makes us look like what we were." I interrupted. The words hung in the air like a blade. My father stepped forward, anger and shame warring in his expression. "You exposed our family to the world." "No," I said calmly. "I exposed my truth." My sister grabbed my arm, voice trembling. "You told everyone what happened in our house?" "Everyone. They deserved to know," I said. "Because I didn't grow alone. I grew through everything you all pretended not to see." And in that moment their fear shifted. Not fear of my success. fear of the truth finally irrevocably escaping their control, stepped away from my family before any of them could speak again. Their apologies weren't apologies, they were negotiations. Deals disguised as regret. I didn't want any of it. I slipped outside, letting the cool night air press against my skin. The soft hum of generators, distant laughter from hotel guests, and the muffled chaos of the ballroom behind me blended into a strange, fragile quiet. Rough night. The voice came from the shadows near the pool. I turned. It was Daniel, my cousin. The one who always sat alone at family events, the one everyone overlooked because he wasn't loud or brilliant or special. The one who understood invisibility. He stood with 2 glasses of water, offering one to me without ceremony. Not pity. Not awe. Just presence. I hesitated, then took it. "You're handling this better than I would've," he said. "I'm not handling anything," I replied. "I'm just not breaking this time." He nodded, as if he understood the cost of that sentence. We sat on the stone steps by the pool. The water shimmered, reflecting our faces, his calm mind still trembling beneath the surface. Daniel spoke quietly. "You know, you're not the only one they compare. My dad still reminds me every Christmas that I dropped out of school." I looked at him surprised. No one ever mentioned that. No one ever mentioned him at all, really. "They don't see us," he continued. "Not unless we're useful. Not unless we shine in the way they expect. But you," he glanced toward the ballroom, "you forced them to look." Silence settled between us. Not the heavy kind filled with judgment, the rare kind that lets you breathe. For the first time that night, I felt something soften. Not toward my family. Toward myself. "You don't owe them forgiveness," Daniel added. "But you also don't have to carry the weight alone anymore." His words hit deeper than the Forbes announcement ever did. Because they weren't from pride or shock or fear. They were from someone who knew what it meant to be overlooked. Someone who knew the quiet violence of being compared. Someone who wasn't afraid of my truth. I exhaled slowly. "Thank you." He shrugged lightly. "You'd do the same for me." Maybe I would. Maybe this was the first moment in years that didn't feel like drowning. Beside the pool, under the dim lights and ruined wedding music, an unlikely alliance formed. Not from blood, not from obligation, but from shared scars. When I finally walked back toward the ballroom, I wasn't the same person who had left it. Something inside me had settled, not healed but aligned. I no longer felt like a shadow slipping around the edges of my own life. This time I entered through the main doors. The room quieted instantly. Conversations thinned into whispers. Faces stiffened. Even the music felt nervous, stumbling under the weight of the moment. My sister approached first. Her makeup was smudged, her confidence cracked. "Tessy, please. Can we talk privately?" "For what?" I asked softly. "To rewrite the narrative again?" Her jaw tightened. She wasn't used to me having boundaries, much less a voice sharper than her excuses. My mother stepped forward next, wringing her hands. "We didn't know you felt this way. You never said." "I did," I corrected. "You just never listened. You heard complaints, not cries." The room tensed. Some guests looked away, as if witnessing something sacred and forbidden. My father cleared his throat, trying to seize control. "Regardless of everything, this is still your sister's wedding. Couldn't you have waited?" I almost laughed. "The world didn't wait to recognize me," I said. "Why should I wait to recognize myself?" For a moment no one spoke. Then something unexpected happened. Aunt Grace, the relative who always ignored me, stepped out from her table and said, "Your success is yours. And none of us contributed to it. Don't let anyone guilt you for shining." Murmurs rippled. A few guests nodded. Even strangers seemed to silently agree. My parents stiffened, their authority cracking in real time. For the first time in my life, the room wasn't united against me. It was divided around the truth. And I finally stood in the center of it. Not invisible, not ashamed, but undeniable. The wedding coordinator dimmed the lights to signal the next transition. But the tension in the room refused to fade. My parents stood rooted, torn between pride, embarrassment, and the loss of control they had always held so tightly. My sister wiped her cheeks, then lifted her chin. "Tessy, are you really going to let this moment ruin everything?" "No," I said. I'm going to let it reveal everything. A hush settled. Even the band stopped pretending to play. For years, I continued, my voice steady, you measured me against her. Called me careless, unserious, unfocused. You built your pride on her achievements and your disappointment on my existence. My mother's breath hitched, but I didn't stop. All while I built something on my own. In silence. Without loans. Without guidance. Without applause. My father's voice trembled with frustration. You should have told us. I tried, I said. You labeled every idea unrealistic. Every dream childish. Every success luck. You trained me to stay small because it made her look bigger. My sister flinched. But here's the truth, I said. I did not surpass you. I surpassed the version of me you created. Gasps scattered across the hall. My sister stepped closer. So this is revenge? I looked her straight in the eyes. No. This is justice. Right then the giant screens behind the stage flickered, still showing the Forbes list, still showing my name. A spotlight hit the center of the room, unintentionally landing on me. Guests whispered. Phones lifted. My mother's tears fell for the first time. Not from disappointment but from realization. My sister lowered her gaze. My father exhaled the truth he could no longer deny. And for the first time in my life the power in the room shifted. Straight into my hands. The music eventually returned, soft, hesitant, unsure if it was allowed to exist after everything that had been said. People drifted back to their seats, though none of them stopped watching me. I felt hundreds of eyes, not with judgment this time, but curiosity, respect, even something close to awe. For the first time at a family event I wasn't shrinking. My sister approached again, her steps slower. Her voice stripped of the arrogance she had always worn like perfume. Tessy, I didn't know you felt overshadowed. You didn't want to know, I replied gently. You enjoyed the pedestal too much. She didn't deny it. And for once that honesty felt like progress. My mother walked over next. Her makeup was streaked, her breath uneven. She wasn't trying to defend herself anymore. She wasn't begging for control. She looked human. I was proud of you, she whispered, eyes glistening. Just proud in silence. That silence did more damage than you think, I answered. My father joined us, shoulders heavy. We failed you. Not because you weren't successful, but because you didn't become successful our way. That was our mistake. I exhaled, feeling a weight I'd carried for years loosen. Not completely gone, but finally shifting. This isn't about apologies, I said. It's about awareness. Change. Respect. They nodded, not out of courtesy, but out of understanding. A slow, warm applause began from a corner of the hall. Aunt Grace, of course. Then others joined. Not because they worshipped my wealth, but because they recognized the courage it took to stand and speak after years of being dismissed. My sister reached out her hand, not to compete, not to overshadow, but simply to connect. Can we start over? As real sisters this time. I hesitated. Old wounds don't close in a night. But new beginnings often start in small, fragile moments. Maybe, I said. If we walk forward honestly. A smile cracked through her tears. Deal. For the rest of the evening the spotlight didn't matter. The Forbes list didn't matter. What mattered was something quieter, deeper, more permanent. I no longer needed my family's approval. I didn't need validation. I didn't need comparison. I had already won. And the girl who once stood in the background of her own life finally walked out of the wedding hall, seen whole and unshakably enough. Thanks for watching my story to the end. Subscribe so you'll be updated when another mind-blowing story is here.